there's a simple realization that takes power and control away from thoughts. What we can notice first of all is that not all thoughts cause us suffering. A lot of thoughts are quite neutral. They are here, they are gone, they're really causing no harm. There is, however, a particular category of thoughts, we could say, that amounts to a lot of potential suffering. We could simply call these thoughts controlling or managing thoughts. We could also call them egoic thoughts, but maybe that's placing too much of a burden on these kinds of thoughts. At the very least, we can say that these kinds of thoughts arise, come up in our experience when something is happening for us that we don't want to happen. So we encounter some kind of challenge, some kind of painful circumstance arises, and all of a sudden all these thoughts begin to emerge which try to assess what is going on and then subsequently try to manage the situation. It is a kind of problem-solving function. Now, here in this description, it also becomes obvious that these kinds of thoughts are not inherently painful or are not inherently causing suffering in of themselves. It is rather the identification, the fixation on these thoughts that seems to cause our suffering. After all, if we just here in the simple presence and thoughts are arising, they're here and they are self-liberating, it really doesn't matter what the content of the thought is. Whether it's a problem-solving, a managing thought, or just a thought about the weather, all thoughts have the same nature. They're here and they are gone. That's it. If, however, there is that contraction, that grasping movement around these managing thoughts, then suffering can come along for the ride. Sometimes it is enough to simply notice that grasping movement and just relax and allow it to dissolve. But we can also question the more fundamental agenda behind these thoughts. Why is it that we are grasping onto these managing thoughts? Well, fundamentally, it is because we want to be safe and whole. We don't want to lose peace. We assume that by going into these thoughts, fixating on them, we can somehow be safe and complete in the here and now and in the future. The basic assumption, therefore, is that this movement of fixation is necessary and useful. And that, of course, is an assumption that we can check in the immediacy of our experience. The question is it really necessary to fixate on these thoughts? Is it not the case that all troublesome emotions, every painful condition, just self-liberates in this awake openness? To use an analogy here, fixation on these problem-solving thoughts is very much like looking at the ocean and trying to make sure that the wave returns to the ocean. It is like having the assumption that if we don't manage the wave, it doesn't know how to dissolve back into the ocean. Meaning that we need to get busy. We need to be very rushed and contracted so that the wave returns to its natural condition. Applied to our own experience, it is the case that something difficult arises, and we subsequently believe that we need to manage it to return to peace. So what if the wave doesn't need managing? Returning to the ocean is the natural state. What if that were true about our experience? If there is something happening for you right now, some kind of fear, anxiety, pain, what if we're just here in this simple presence, this awareness, nowhere to go right now, nothing to accomplish, just resting with this movement of experience? What's happening with it? Does it stay frozen? Is it stuck? Or is it constantly moving, shifting, and liberating itself? Never frozen in place. Is it necessary to hold this challenging experience? Or is it already being held in this openness? There's no need to go into it and manage it, because here right now, there's already absolute intimacy with it. So what need is there to become the problem solver of experience when all experience is already whole and naturally releasing itself? Now a thought, a kind of managing thought that might pop up here is, well, I need to take care of these circumstances. If I don't do something, something bad will happen. Then we realize something fascinating. By resting in this placeless place, in this awareness, we're not hyper-fixating on managing our experience, but we also find that the body-mind is fully capable of going out and solving relative life circumstances. If there is something to be done, it will get done. The body and mind are fully capable of taking care of that. But it is not necessary to hyperfixate, to identify with these thoughts. If there is useful content in them, we just hear, the thoughts arise, something presents itself to be done, and so it is being done. Just be aware of that tendency to want to freeze again into the one who needs to manage and control. The managing and controlling is happening here. There is no need to over-fixate on it, to freeze and solidify oneself. Then we are in this wholeness. And it's very much a situation of having your cake and eating it too. There is peace in the here and now, and the possibility of full embodiment and involvement with the relative demands of our embodiment. So just familiarize with this. How it is to be here, to live from here. And surely you will not be disappointed.